Hey, what's going on, family? It's your boy J. Barry Darius, and we are here once again to talk about leadership. All right, now we're about to go into the segment of layers of leadership. Layers of leadership. All right, because what I want to be able to do is just kind of explore just the vast subject of leadership, because it's not about just being in a position of title or just having a position, right? We have to understand the various levels and the various layers of leadership. And I kind of just want to start off by saying, John Maxwell, who is like just this guru of leadership, right? One of the very known people who really speak on leadership. He had a model of levels of leadership, right? The 5 levels of leadership, to where we ought to understand how we could increase our level of leadership, right? In our level of leading. And he starts off by saying that position leadership, right? Having a title is actually just the first level, because people are following you because they have to, not because they want to. Right? People are following the position. They're not following you, right? And then we go into the second level, which is people are following you because they want to, not just they have to, right? They're following because they actually want to. There's a connection, there's a relationship that has been established with you as a leader and the people that you're overseeing. And then you go into the third level, which is the production level, being able to produce results. People are following you because you produce results, right? You're able to add onto the organization and you're successful, right? And then you have the fourth level, which is people are following you because you make them better, right? In this level, you're training, you're equipping, you're teaching, and being able to help others be able to be developed into leaders themselves and be able to increase their quality of life. That is like the fourth level, which is people development. And then you go into the fifth level, which is people follow you because of the fact that of who you are and what you stand for, right? It's the key word is respect, right? And so those are the 5 levels of leadership that John Maxwell mentions in his model of 5 levels of leadership. And I truly believe that if we kind of tap into those levels and we kind of tap into the various stages of leadership, we can actually help to increase the quality of life of our society, of our communities, of our organizations. But I want to continue to talk about also the various layers of leadership. Right? The various layers of leadership, because again, leadership is such a big topic. It's so vast. And we have to kind of understand that when we lead, there's various realms and spaces and levels that we're leading into, right? And so there's various layers of leadership, right? But there's a few that I want to mention. And the first one that I want to mention is leading self. Leading self. You can't expect to lead others and not having led yourself, right? We have to be able to understand that we have to lead ourselves. We have to develop ourselves. We have to train and equip ourselves into where we want to go so that we'll be able to lead others afterwards, right? We have to be able to first learn how we lead ourselves in behavior and mental capacity, emotional, all of that. Then we can start leading individuals. We can start leading other people, right? Other individuals in terms of bringing out the potential that they have, bringing out, the skills and the gifts that they have, these individuals that you start to pour out into, right? And then after we, are leading these individuals, then you start leading communities. You start leading families. You start leading these small groups, right? Not just individuals, but now a group of people that you're now leading and you're now impacting. Then you start to lead organizations. You start to lead entities. You start to lead foundations, right? And we have to kind of understand that there's a level of capacity that has to be built in order to lead in these various layers, right? Because now you start talking about leading generations, right? Leading generations and understanding, what is the generational need? What is the vision for the organization, to be able to lead in the capacity that is needed to lead the organization and the people in that organization, right? What is the need of the community, right? Because you're not now just leading individual people, but you're now leading groups of people. You're now leading enterprises. You're now leading generations, right? So we kind of have to understand the various layers of leadership. And so, we have to understand that with each of these layers comes the capacity that has to be built, having, been given to us either from past experiences, either from past training, even from previous layers, right? With that being said, all leadership starts with self-leadership. It starts with self-development, right? Which is why we think about the word self-control or self-discipline or self-awareness or self-determination, right? We start to get on these words because it's all about self-development and being able to lead self, right? Establishing the leadership within ourselves, right? Because we don't want to start this whole thing of being egocentric or being bigoted or being self-conceited or self-absorbed, right? Because now you're no longer leading effectively. But we want to be able to understand that when it comes to all these various layers and levels, right, it starts with self-leadership. All that being said, right, because you have these levels of leadership, right, to kind of build upon. You have these layers of leadership. You have all these different realms of leadership, right? But with these, different layers, there has to be a certain skill set that we leaders have to develop, right, in order to be able to lead effectively. Now, there's a whole bunch of skills and qualities that we have to have, but I want to be able to mention these, right? And the first one is the understanding of communication, effective communication, effective communication, effective communication. Because there's a lot of people and a lot of leaders right now, they talking, but they're not communicating effectively. And the reason being is because we have to understand that people come with different backgrounds. People come with different idiosyncrasies and different habits and behaviors, right? And we have to understand their language of communication, how they receive information, how they give information. And we have to be able to communicate effectively. Another thing is understanding purpose and principles. As a leader, we should be doing things with purpose. We should be doing things with intention and deliberate, right? And we have to be able to apply various principles, right, in order to be able to be effective, right, in the purpose that we're striving for, whether it is for the community, for the organization, for our ministry. We have to move in purpose. Leaders are purposeful. All right. Another thing is that we have to learn how to adapt. We have to learn how to adapt. Adaptation is a skill set that all leaders have to learn, because we're in a pandemic, and some of the things that has kind of been killing us is the fact that a lot of leaders have not adapted to some of the things that have happened. There's a lot of various situations and circumstances that we have to come to adapt to and be able to find a way to find new solutions for these new problems. Another skill set that I want to mention is understanding cultivation and growth. Here's a question. In your place of operation or in your organization, does your organization move as fluid and as smooth when you're absent, right? When you're not there, Is it as functional and is it as efficient as if you were there? And we have to ask ourselves that question as a leader, because if not, one of the signs of, of bad cultivation and bad growth, or the organization not growing, is that you may have built it poorly due to the fact that when you're absent, things do not run the way that it should. We have to be able to understand that if we're not growing, if we're not cultivating, then we are not doing our due diligence as a leader. Another skill set and quality that we have to be able to have as leaders is, the difference between, or the principle of, thriving versus surviving. Thriving versus surviving. Again, we are in a pandemic and it has killed a lot of businesses. It has killed a lot of dreams. It has discouraged a lot of leaders, right? And during the start of it, of course, you're just gonna try to survive. But the question I have is, well, for how long are you just gonna keep surviving? At some point, you kind of have to be like, as an example, like a surfer, where you first start to swim towards the wave that's coming towards you, right? But at the end, you start riding that wave, right? At some point, we have to start thriving and not just surviving. We also have to have as skill and qualities in terms of leadership is we have to be able to have character and integrity. Nobody wants to follow anybody that is just a liar, that is just fake, that is just disingenuous, that is just not authentic, that's not transparent. Like, we want to be able to make sure that we have character and integrity, right, to uphold the values and the principles that we say we hold, right, for the betterment of those that are following us and for the betterment of the organization to which we are leading. Last but not least, we as leaders must have vision. We must have vision. We must have vision, okay? Without vision, people perish. Without vision, there is chaos. Without vision, there is disorganization, there is inefficiency, and there is little progress. Okay, without vision, there's randomness. Okay, and without vision, there is no future. So we have to make sure that as leaders, we acquire these skills and we acquire these qualities in order to build the capacity that we need so that we can thrive in these various layers and levels that we have in leadership. Understand that a layered leader has the skill set and the cultivation that separates them from a non-layered leader. Did you hear what I said? I said that a layered leader, right? A leader that has been able to go through the process of growing and going through the various levels and working through the various layers, right, of leadership, has more cultivation and skill set than a non-layered leader, right? We don't want to just stay in the position of having a title or having a position or, just people following us because they have to, right? But not really following us because they want to, because they're following the position and not you, right? And with that being said, I want to mention a layer that a lot of leaders overlook. There's a layer that a lot of leaders just don't seem to consider when leading people, all right? And that layer is, so I want to go ahead and say thank you for tuning in on this segment of Layers of Leadership, All right, we're gonna continue this conversation. All right, subscribe. Go ahead and follow me on all the social media stuff, down below. You can see it. And we're gonna continue. So if you wanna know what that next layer is that leaders overlook, stay tuned.